Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Monday, September 14th, 2020, 9:30 a.m. Central, in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. It is Weekly News and Announcements Day. Still haven't heard back from the person who is due for the badge, the virtual Game Hole Con badge that was given out for somebody. I've contacted them. We missed each other late yesterday when I could have had a chance to make sure that the message had been received, and then I blew it. So it's on me. I'm sure this person will get in touch with me. I'm 99.9% sure that they will accept the badge. So at this point, next badge next week. And we're already starting to build up a bit of a group here. Let me see what's going on with this. Got to refresh my Twitch page because it was not showing up for me, which is weird. Everything else seems to be working fine. Streaming, recording, audio, visual, it's all there, so I'm going to proceed with the show as if Twitch has a problem and not me. Welcome anybody who's checking in today. We've got 3 big virtual conventions. I should say mid-size, right? I mean, they're not Gen Con or Origins or Dragon Con, but they're mid-size conventions, small to mid, I guess. And they're all beauties. I don't know. Gamehole Con's pretty big. I mean, it's getting up there. I don't know if it's quite Origin size or Dragon Con. I don't think it's either. I don't think it's as big as either of those. It's certainly nowhere near Gen Con. Nobody's near Gen Con except Essen, right? Virtual Greyhawk Convention, October 2nd to 4th. So that's mere couple of weeks away. And Gary Con's presenting an Autumn Revel, October 9th to 12th, which is the following weekend. So that is 3 weeks away. And then the first full weekend of November is Gamehole Con. Well, virtual Gamehole Con. All of these are virtual conventions. November 5th to 8th. Virtual tabletop events is handling the sign-ups and registrations, badge registration and everything for Greyhawk and for Autumn Revel. Gamehole Con, you got to go to gameholecon.com to sign up for that convention and to submit events and all of that jazz. So yeah, Greyhawk convention. What are my thoughts on this? I think I'm going to go and have some fun. I'm just signing up for stuff. As a DM, I've always run my own setting. So I'm not a Greyhawk guy. I have been working on something for GaryCon, for last GaryCon, that I had thought about trying to dust off, but it's too much work, and it had been planned as a physical thing, and I've got minis for it, and although it is ostensibly a Greyhawk thing, I can't run games the way Lord Gasumba runs them, with the big table and all the cameras and some players in and some players piped in. Everything I've got to run right now has to be on the virtual tabletop. Um, so that is going to remain a future thing for probably for next GaryCon. I mean, that's the plan. If things continue forward with our best intentions, then we will have a physical GaryCon, albeit probably a downsized one next March. And as someone who's been going since GaryCon 1 and been DMing the full load since the beginning and such, I know I'll have a badge for myself. But I know that badges will be limited, and I've heard just last night Luke say that the people that were signed up for GaryCon 12, which got canceled or turned to virtual, the people that were signed up for physical GaryCon 12 will have first bite at the apple, as he put it, for tickets for GaryCon, physical GaryCon 13. There's no guarantee that's going to happen. If things proceed the way they have been, it will be a year in at that point. Let's face it, this show started, the OK Grognard show started on March 26th, which would have been the Thursday of the beginning of physical GaryCon 12, which had to be converted into a virtual convention. Probably the first to do that, a real pioneer in that regard. I firmly believe that if KC Rift and his fine gang of other folk under the auspices of Dave Conant and Skip Williams and Caroline, more than anyone probably, or as much as anyone at least, and Luke hadn't put things in his hand and been there to help him convert things over to a virtual convention for 12, then I'm not sure that would have happened in the first place. And I certainly don't believe we would have seen as much virtual conventioning going forward, because it was really the crucible, virtual GaryCon 12, by which I think Goodman Games had one, Cobalt Con, North Texas, although I really feel North Texas kind of missed a trick by being so mixed message on what they were going to do. It left things up in the air, and they really, Gamehole Con's a great example of somebody who's done it right now. Granted, he's had the advantage of this having gone on for a while, so when he had to make his decisions, as soon as he was able to make a decision to cancel and go virtual, he did. He went early at that. And I think the North Texas guys were kind of in a trick bag in that they were held up in being able to make a decision because of some of the decisions handed down from on high in Texas, and because of who would have been on the hook financially, whether it's the hotels, the convention space, which in this case same thing, right, or whether it's going to be insurance companies, or so there was money to lose, and I think they got stuck in a game of chicken and then had to do what they had to do. So I don't know. Certainly the wise call was to cancel a physical convention. With all that we knew at that point, even, it was more than enough to realize that that was the best idea. So it had to be done one way or another. Greyhawk. I should continue with that thought though, because I really do think, and I think they don't. I don't know if they're getting enough credit for this. I really think because Gary Con did what it did, they may well have set the stage for Con of Champions and tabletop events to be able to pull off a sort of a fundraising virtual convention, which allowed them to put some bucks in the bank and make sure they didn't have to close their door. Because certainly with all the physical conventions closing, tabletop events would have been, if it couldn't make that transition, would have been wiped. Now, of course, since then they've been, I believe, purchased by Board Game Geek, so they come under the auspices of that. But I believe they are still a separate entity, nonetheless. It's a good, it's a great system. I mean, I like Warhorn too, and I think there's a few others out there that are still useful, and certainly native systems like the one GameholeCon uses work for them. But tabletop events, I've just become very dependent, very used to their interface, and find it very user friendly, and enjoy using it. So lots of conventions over the summer. Now we're moving into the fall. We've got virtual Greyhawk convention, October 2nd through 4th. I'm just going to attend as a player. I don't really run Greyhawk stuff, as I said. So that is where I'm at with my thoughts on that. So what do we got next? We got the Autumn Revel coming up the weekend after that. Autumn Revel. Okay, as I said, that's on tabletop events. So you can get your badge over there. Autumn Revel 1, Autumn-Revel 1 on the conventions over there. October 9th to 12th. 4-day convention. It's a GaryCon sanctioned event. It is sort of their off-season event, which is kind of neat. I mean, GameholeCon's always kind of been the sister convention to GaryCon, and that's good. And Nexus broke off from GaryCon, and is in June, and is a wonderful convention. I think I enjoy when I go there. It's primarily board gaming at this point. There's a little bit of Magic. There's a handful of RPGs. There's a smattering of wargaming, but it's mainly a board gaming convention. So I would love to see Nexus get on board with tabletop events now that they're tied to Board Game Geek. It would make sense for them, and also for the gaming hoopla, to do the same. I know it eats up a cut of the pie, but I tell you what, it's I find sometimes that the proprietary ways of signing up for some smaller conventions can tend to lead to a certain amount of clickishness. Um, and I think when you use a clean, transparent system like tabletop events, it's a lot less likely to happen, a lot more fair when it comes to signups. You know when things are going to be open and available, and you get notifications in a timely manner. Sometimes I've found that when I get a notification for some smaller events, I'll go to check out registration and stuff's all gone. And I mean, I literally click through as soon as I get emails for stuff like that, and I'll find all sorts of stuff already full. And I know that sometimes there are tiers for when you get to sign up, but I'll get a VIG badge on some of these things, and still find there's nothing to sign up for when I get a notification and it's time to sign up. So that's it's a little more than annoying. But hopefully that kind of stuff gets cleared up as we get back into physical conventions and we start re-examining how we're handling these things. It's an important thing. Autumn Revel, however, is a new venture, a small to mid-sized virtual gaming event, probably going to be mainly RPGing. So it's going to take advantage of Fantasy Grounds and Roll20. I'm not sure Astral is going to have a huge presence at it, but hopefully we'll see a little bit of that. I'd like to join in a game that's using Astral and get a view for it as a player. I've looked it over, and man, it's really pretty. It really looks really good. As you Roll20 is very utilitarian, right? It feels like a table with a bunch of people sitting around it using a whiteboard and rolling dice off to the side and such. Um, and I guess it can feel a little less like that. I've watched some shows that use D&D Beyond. I don't currently play in or run a 5th edition D&D game, so it's not a system I can actually jump into. I guess I could just to try it out, but um, disability overload. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming on by. Appreciate it. Fairly new account there, huh? You started following me the other day, huh? About 6 days ago? Thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it. April 20th is when you set up this account, so probably in a way like me, you're somebody who had world circumstances drive them towards spending more time in new ways online, huh? I had an old account here on Twitch, which I revived, but I had not used it except to try a few things when I first signed it on or registered it years ago. Same thing with Roll20. I Roll20 accounts like 8 years old or something like that. But until March and April, I wasn't using Twitch or Roll20 barely at all, if at all, not at all. Let's be honest. The occasional show I'd go and see on Twitch. Someone else had a stream going that I wanted to check out. Roll20 played so much in the physical and meat space that wasn't necessary to jump on Roll20 and play games virtually. So that's just the way that was. Let's get you on that list, though, for this week. Dio. We'll put you there. Whoop. There it is. All right. Beautiful. We've got to keep track of that as it goes, because otherwise I'll forget who was on. Autumn Revel. There you go. Go to Tabletop Events Conventions, Autumn-Revel 1, and you will find all the information you need on that. And what do we got? I guess the last one is to talk about Gamehole Con. Virtual Gamehole Con 8th, November 5th to November 8th. It is gameholecon.com for their website. I'll have links to all 3 conventions in the show notes later on, so feel free to use those links and go check out these virtual conventions. Sign up for them. They're pretty inexpensive, and I think it's like $3 for Greyhawk, and it's all going to charity, and it's $5 for Gamehole Con, and it's all going to charity. And I think it was pretty inexpensive if you're GMing for Autumn Revel, and I am, so there are some expensive packages, but they come with huge amounts of physical swag, so if you're into the old school gaming vibe swag, I shouldn't even call it that because it's, if you're into GaryCon swag, there's probably a lot of that in there, and then some stuff from sponsors like Troll Lords and Goodman Games and some of the other companies that would regularly be part of GaryCon are likely to be adding stuff into the swag. But all that stuff's delineated over on the Autumn Revel site, so check that out there. So too, check out GameholeCon and start getting yourself prepared. Get your events in order to submit. I'm doing that myself. As I say, for Greyhawk convention, I'll be a player, passenger, whatever you want to say. Autumn Revel, I'll be running some games just as I do for GaryCon. It'll probably include a fair amount of board gaming on yucata.de, yucata.de, and tabletopia.com. And there's another one I use that has some games that I'm looking into for more stuff, although currently I just jump on and play Can't Stop from time to time. Board Game Arena looks pretty good. Personally, I can't do anything tied to Steam, so tabletop, what's it called? Tabletop Simulator, I guess, has been off limits to me. I haven't figured out a way to do that without it sending up red flags when I try to use it on my system, so I just don't risk it. But other people use it all the time, so probably something I'm doing wrong, and because it's easier to just use other things, I haven't spent much time looking into it. But I definitely have some Tabletopia games in mind and some yucata.de games in mind to run during the Autumn Revel. There's some older games, some favorites. Certainly I can set up a situation on Board Game Arena. Just had a mind glitch there. On Board Game Arena, hopefully I can set it up so that we can play some Can't Stop, the classic Can't Stop game, because that's a lot of fun. It's fast. You could get half a dozen games in an hour, which is a good thing, because if you're a new player, it takes a little bit of getting used to, and even for older players, sometimes if you haven't played it for a while, some of the subtle strategies of when to stop and when not to stop when you're rolling the dice. It's a press your luck kind of game, and it's not easy to determine exactly when the best time to hold off is. So there you go. Anyway, we've got our 3 conventions for the fall, October and November. Then we get into late November. Lake Geneva Games 10-year anniversary is actually Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving this year. And sad to say, but I see absolutely no way that there's going to be an event unless sometime in October there's a vaccine, unless there's some sort of widespread delivery inoculation program that covers the entire United States within a month of that coming on the scene. Unless all of that happens before Thanksgiving, I see no safe way that we'll see 6 green lights on the Badger Bounce Back program, which is our gauge for when we'll reopen Lake Geneva games. So, and I'd see it happening, sad to say. So, we've got a few other things going on. Late October, of course. October 24th through October 31st are the 8 days of Marktoberfest. Yeah, I said it. Marktoberfest. What an ego. I named a thing after myself. And it's 8 days. It runs from my birthday through the end of the month, Halloween. We'll have some fun, do some cool giveaways and little event things over the course of that. That'll take us through late October. Then after GameholeCon, we'll have to find something to do. Moving toward Thanksgiving. We'll have to plan some big thing for Thanksgiving weekend, because I know there are people out there who only get to see their relatives over the holidays, but I have a feeling that there are people that have been with their relatives for the last 6 months and will probably want to do something other than be with their relatives. And if they can do something online, that'll be fun. Hey, Hobbsy. And I think we also have to look toward oops, we don't want to do that. We want to do this. What do we got up there, Hobbsy? Virtual Greyhawk, Autumn Revel, GameholeCon. Be ready for all three, buddy. It's going to be very exciting. We just discussed all of those. Check them out later on the recorded version of the show, either here or on YouTube. Speaking of which, I think we're just about done for the day, so I am going to say thank you very much to everybody who popped in today. I do very much appreciate it. We've got these conventions coming up, but don't forget, I've got the schedule for this show here, and it's 9:30 a.m. every day Central. Tomorrow, Cartography and World Building, we'll be talking about campaign discussion on Wednesday, GMing tips on Thursday, building adventures on Friday, GM reviews on Saturday, and a rules retrospective on Sunday. Then round the horn to the weekly news and announcements. Back again next Monday. If you're catching up with this on YouTube, please do subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up. If you have some constructive criticism, we appreciate it in the comment section of any video. We're happy to try to make the show better, although the thing holding back this show is probably my real lack of effort and minimal skills. But, you know, it's just a quick half hour every morning off the cuff that I do, and that schedule we just saw there is the bare bones of a skeleton of a plan for what the show is about, and it just gives me something to hang my hat on each day. So, if you're making constructive criticism by way of spending a lot of money or putting a lot of effort in, I'll give you a heads up right now. It's unlikely to happen. It's unlikely that this show will ever get much better than it already is, which is okay with me. It's here so that I can help keep track of the days of the week for my old, infirmed self. And it's also for me to just enjoy pontificating about first edition and related or adjacent gaming systems. And to hear the sound of my own voice, because I'm that kind of a knucklehead. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. Tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. and every day from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.